Hi guys, let's make this trendy vest together. Mine came with a sleeve which is totally optional. Well, if this is something you're interested in, then keep watching. Hi, my name is Deratailor, your online fashion tutor. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now this is the fabric I'm working with. The name of this fabric is crepe and I got it for 1.5 yard. So this is called a crepe peach color and I got it for 1.5 yard. The first thing I did was to place them on fold. This is the back and this is the front. The back is into two. Let's talk about the back first. The back is into two and you can see that I left space for zipper allowance. There's not going to be zip, but I'm going to be telling you why I left that space. And the width of this space is 2 inches. Now you can see that the front is also longer than the back. I hope you understand. The front is longer than the back, and then for this back I splitted it into two. I teared it open, so you can see I teared it open for the back. Now for the length of the back is 17 inches. The back length is shorter than the front length. The length of the back is 17 inches. And also remember, this is like a crop vest. Remember, it's not supposed to be long, it's a crop vest. Now the length of the front is 18.5, the back is 17. The length of the front is 18.5, while the back is what, 17 inches. Please get it right. The front is always longer than the back if you are trying to make this vest. Now for the front area, I came in by 1.5 inches all the way by 1.5 inches, and the reason I did this is because this is going to serve as my button allowance. This is going to be having a button, so I left about 1.5 inches for what, my button allowance. So I just came in all the way by what, 1.5 inches from the top to the bottom area. Now this is what it is looking like after I came all the way in by 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to be checking the length of the back again, and I checked the length. It was giving me 17 inches. I'm going to be marking 17 inches also at the front area, that's the waist area, 17 inches. You have to make sure that the length for the back is tallying with the length for the front. So I marked 17 inches at just the waist area for the front. So that's just what I did. I'll tell you why later. I placed it at the front area, and I'm going to be taking my shoulder measurement. Because it's on fold, I divided my shoulder into two and it was giving me 7 inches. So I just marked 7 inches at that point. You're going to be ignoring the 1.5 inches you came in by, and you just be starting where the front started from. And after marking 7 inches, I'm going to be going down by 1 inches. I went down by 1 inches. After marking it, I'm just going to mark it after going down by 1 inches. This is going to represent my shoulder slope. And after doing this, what I just did next was, from the point that I came down by 1 inches, you could see that point, I'm going to be marking my armhole measurement. My armhole is 7 inches, and that was just what I marked, and I'll be connecting it together. I hope you understand what I did here. For the neckline width, I marked 3 inches, and the reason why is because I did not want it to be too wide, so I just took 3 inches for it. And it's going to be having a button, so it is easy to wear, so I just marked 3 inches. Now for the neckline depth for the front, remember, for the front I'm using 8 inches. I marked 6 inches here, but later on I still changed it, but I'm using 8 inches for the neckline width. I used 6 inches here, but I changed it because I realized that it was not deep enough. So just, let's say I use 8 inches, and then I'm just going to be using a curved rule. I'm not going to be using a straight rule, because if you look at the picture, it was not like a v-neck, it has a curve. So I'm using my curved rule, my French curve, to connect the line together, and not a ruler, not a straight rule to connect it together. Now this front part had a curve at the bottom area. You can see the picture below. So I'm just going to be marking it. I came down by 17 inches. You could see I marked 17 inches where the back length is. I marked 17 inches where the back length is for the front area. Now from the point that I marked 17 inches, I am going to be going in by 2 inches. Just watch what I'm doing. I am going to be going in by 2 inches from the point I marked 17 inches. I went in by what, 2 inches at that bottom point. You could see. Now I'm going to be using my straight rule to connect it together to give me like a V pattern, a slanted V pattern. So I'm going to be using my straight rule to connect these both lines together, because you can see the vest has like a curve at that point. So that is just how to create a curve. To start taking your body measurement, you're going to be starting from the area where you marked 1.5 inches. That is where you start taking your body measurement, but because this remaining part is a button allowance, so you do not start from there. I placed my tape from this point that I marked 1.5 inches, because the other area is for button allowance. So I took my bust measurement, added about 1 inches for allowance, I added 1 inches for allowance, and then I also take my waist measurement from the 17 inches. You could see this area we marked 17 inches, and that was why I said you should mark 17 inches for the front. I took my waist measurement from that point also, and I added 1 inches for allowance sake, right? You could see it. You guys, if you are watching this video and you have not yet subscribed, please do so by liking and also subscribing to my channel. Thank you. So I'm going to be connecting the lines together from the area I marked 1 inches for my allowance. That was where I marked my body measurement from. That was where I took the body measurement from. So you could see where I connected it from. The area I marked 1 inches for the freedom allowance, that was where I took it from. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my curve rule to connect my waist measurement to the 2 inches we came in by. These 2 inches here, I'm going to be connecting it together with the waist measurement. So using a curve rule also, I connected it together with the waist measurement. Now you could see where we started connecting from the 2 inches that we came in by, where the curve started from. That was where I connected together. Now for the back measurement, that's the neckline for the back, I just marked where the main measurement is going to be starting from. That's the 3 inches. I marked it at the back, and then I'm going to be taking my neck depth for the back also. Now this is where it is going to be starting from. I marked 1 inches for the back depth. The back depth is going to be a high neck, so I just took 1 inches and I connected it together with the 3 inches. If you are using 3 inches for the neck width for the front, it's the same thing you are also going to be using for the back too. So I just marked it together. You could see what we have here now. Now for this front part, we are going to be connecting the neck width together with the shoulder slope. That's the 1 inches we came down by. I hope you understand. I connected the neck width with the shoulder. That's the 1 inch we came down by. So you could see what we did. It now formed a shoulder slope at that area. We are now going to be making corrections on the armhole area. So I'm going to be calculating the length from the 1 inches we came down by. I'm going to be calculating the length. Now I just checked the length for it. Remember, it was 7 inches and this is 7. I got the mid area, which is 3.5. That's 7 divided by 2. It gave me 3.5 inches. From this point that I marked 3.5 inches, I'm going to be going in by half an inch. I went in by half an inch from the point I marked 3.5 inches from. I hope you understand. I went in by half an inch, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be connecting it with the bust area. This bust area, you could see I'm going to be connecting them both from the half an inch area. I'm going to be connecting it to the bust area. Now using my curve rule, I just placed it, making sure that it was placed correctly, and then I'm going to be connecting them both together. That's, you're connecting the midpoint to the bust measurement. I hope you get that. So I just connected it together using my chalk, and I'm just going to go ahead to thicken it so that you can see it. Now I'm going to be connecting the half an inch to the upper area. I am going to be connecting it to the upper area. Now this armhole that we just formed, this is what we are going to be using, not the old one. The old one was just like a draft for us to get this one. This is what we are going to be using now, and you could see the curve it gave us. This is what our armhole is now looking like. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut out all my excesses. Now that you can see how I cut it out, the front is opened, is into 2, the back is also into 2. You could see the back, I splitted it into 2. You could see the back is splitted into 2 like I said before, and the front is also splitted into 2 because it's going to be having a button allowance. Now this is the lining that I cut out for every piece. This is the lining I'm working with for each piece. each piece has a lining. The front has a lining, the back also has a lining for all of them. Now this is the back. I'm going to be sewing the neckline area first, then I'm going to be sewing the zipper area, that's the allowance area, and then I'm going to be sewing the bottom area. I hope you understand that. I'll be sewing the neckline area, the zip area, and the bottom area also. I'm not going to be sewing the sides in. I'm not going to be sewing the sides in first. I'm just going to be sewing the zipper area, the bottom, and the neckline area, not the side first. And the armhole, I'm not going to be sewing it in also. Now the front also has a lining. I'm going to be sewing the neckline, this part for the front, this bottom allowance. I'm going to be sewing this our curve, which is important. Then I'm also going to be sewing this side also. I'm not going to be sewing this side, and I'm not going to be sewing the armhole area because the armhole is going to be having a sleeve which is totally optional. Like I said, it's going to be having a sleeve which is totally optional. This is one part of the back. I stitched the neckline, I stitched the zipper area, and I stitched the bottom area. I'm going to go ahead to turn it to the front so that you can see. Now this is what it was looking like. I also repeated the same thing at the other part of the back. I'm going to iron it, of course, and I repeated the same thing like I said on the other part of the back. This is the both piece for the back area, this is the both piece for the back area. Now this is what the front is looking like also. I turned it to the front. Now I'm also doing the same thing for the other part of the front. This is the neckline, this is the button allowance, and these are the sides that I stitched. I went ahead to turn it to the front like I did for the back. I turned it to the front. I just want to show you the process of turning it, and this is what it was giving me. You could see the front. This is what the front is looking like. Now I'm going to be stitching the sides area for the front and also the back area. I'm going to be stitching the sides area for all them both. Now this is the back area. Please note that, listen attentively, this is the back area. The right side are facing each other. We're going to be working with the zipper allowance area. So from the top points, that's where the zipper allowance area started from, I came in by 2 inches, and after coming in by 2 inches, I then came down by 11.5 inches. You could see what I mean. I came in by 2 inches here and stitched. I stopped at 11.5 inches. This is 11.5, and then I made a straight stitch at that point. I hope you understand. I came in by 2 inches, stopped at 11.5 inch, and then I made a stitch at this point. The remaining part of the down is not stitched. I hope you understand that. From here to the bottom point is 11.5 inches. From this top point to this bottom point that you could see my fingers is 11.5 inch, and then I made a straight stitch at that point. I hope you understand that. After doing this, I turned it to the front, and this is what it was looking like. So that was why I left space for zipper allowance area, because I wanted to give it this suit-like effect. Now you could see that this space is opened. Remember it was 11.5 inches we stopped our stitching at, remember, and the length of this back is 17 inches. So we stopped stitching at 11.5 inches because we wanted to leave this part open. Now you can see that it is looking like the back of a suit. So that was why I just did what I did here. For this point that is open, I'm going to be using my needle and thread to be making tags on it. I'm going to be securing it with the needle and thread. This is what it was looking like after I was done tacking with my needle and thread. This area is not going to be opening again, so that was why I tacked it. I'm going to go ahead to stitch the shoulder areas together. I placed the front together on top of the back, making sure they're facing each other appropriately, and then using one part of the lining for the front, I turned it towards the back. Using a part of the lining for the front, I turned it to the back, and I'm going to be stitching it together, and then I'm also going to be repeating the same process at the other side. Now after stitching it, this is what the back is looking like. You could see how it's looking, and then this is what the front is looking like. You could see how the front and the back are both looking neat because I made the stitching for the shoulder at the side. Now I'm just going to go ahead to stitch my body area. I'm going to be stitching the bust and the waist for the both area together. I'm going to be making stitches on them both. Now we are going to be adding a sleeve to it. The reason was because I did not want mine to be like armless, but yours is optional. You could do yours without a sleeve, but this is the sleeve that I am going to be attaching to the vest. Now I already attached a sleeve to one part of the vest, and this is what it is looking like. This is a turn up sleeve. This is what it is looking like. So I'm just going to be attaching the other part of it to the other part of the vest. Now I just folded it into two. You could see the way I folded it into two, and then I'm just going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to be sewing the areas together. For this part, I'm going to go ahead to make buttonholes for it, and I'm also going to be adding buttons to them. That was why I said that you needed to have button allowance for it. Remember, we took 1.5 inch for our button allowance. Now I just wanted to show you guys this back because I was so in love with this back, so I just showed you guys this back. It was not really necessary, right? So now, after attaching the hands to both areas, this is what it was looking like, and this is what the both areas are looking like. And of course, this was the button allowance that we added. I added buttons to them, and you could see the curve that we made at this point. You guys, there was poor lights in this area. The lighting was very poor, there was no light, but you could see the V shape that we created at this point. Remember when we went in by 2 inches, this was the V shape. So you guys, this is the end of the tutorial. If you learned something, please comment what you think about this tutorial on the comment section. See you guys on my next tutorial. Bye.